Stop messing around and do these 4 things to build a framework in your freelance writing business that will pay off for decades. We need to stop messing around with all of the junk and all the garbage that we think makes progress or that we're supposed to do. These are the 4 things that I have known in my business to make the biggest impact. And I'm Mandy Ellis. I'm a 6-figure freelance writer and coach, and I help other writers build high-earning businesses they adore with dream clients and schedules. So we're going to go 4, 3, 2, 1 today, and I think this is an importance. So 4 to 1, 1 is the most important. Number 4 thing is we have to connect with those clients, right? It's not that you just show up somewhere and that's where the clients are and they're just like, oh, thank God you're here. We need to make sure that we're reaching out with our LOIs and we're making sure we're using the right templates, the right revenue ranges to make sure those clients have a budget and the right processes to onboard them and to continue our marketing. But one of the secrets that I've never shared here is that I went many years without sending LOIs. And then when I did do it, I was so afraid it took me weeks to just send one LOI. It was the worst thing I've ever written. It was multiple pages. And when I was trying to connect with the right clients, I just didn't understand the language they spoke. I was just like, let me just prove to you over and over and over again in this LOI that like I know what I'm doing and I can figure it out and like I know stuff and like I'm not an imposter. When I was going in there, I was so afraid and had so much self-doubt that I basically created all of this, all of these things, all of these pillars essentially to make it look like I knew what I was doing, but it just made me look more insecure. So when I got started with cold emails, I sent these multi-page LOIs. I was so afraid to get started. It took me weeks just to send one. I think it was 3 weeks to send my first LOI. And I didn't have a template. I just wrote them from scratch pretty much every time and tried to convince everyone that like they needed blog posts and I needed to tell them all the stats about why they needed blog posts. And for me, when I started getting into business clients, I went as small as possible. So when I got started, and this is something that I never talk about, when I got started, I went for like the world's smallest clients. I was so scared to go after the bigger clients with actual budgets. You know, the people who plan and understand they have goals for content and actually do a good job being a client. I went for super small clients. So when I got started, I was working for $25 for 1,500 words. So I made $25 for 1,500 words because I was just so scared to go after actual functioning clients. I was just like, great, I'm just gonna get paid and like, I'll just work my way up. And then a second thing here where we're working with the right clients and we're doing the right things was I had this math in my head that as long as I just did more stuff, I would make more money. So instead of raising my rates or having contracts that actually helped me, you know, change my terms over time or having things in place where I knew I could move on to better clients, so I actually had marketing in place, I would just be like, oh, I can work for $100 an article and just do 1,000 of those and make this much money. So instead of really understanding the long-term value of my work, understanding how to find my clients, speak their language, really meet them at their level rather than getting all over this imposter syndrome and self-doubt, I was just like, oh, I'll just do more of the thing instead of raising my rates and understanding the long-term value of my work. So for me, when I'm thinking about this process, number 4, it's one of the most important things is we have to do these things in tandem. They all go together. So understanding how clients find you and how clients can, more of your ideal clients can find you on LinkedIn or on your website, connecting with them on their level, speaking their language, talking to them in your copy on LinkedIn and your website, really sending a lot of those cold LOIs, getting over the fear, understanding that most people are not upset, they don't care, and it's not your job to prove everything. It's your job to show up and say, I get it, like I understand you. And they're like, oh, thank God, now that you understand me, like let's move forward. So we want to make sure we're also reaching out to those clients with the right budgets and using that right onboarding process. So that's number 4. Number three. So as I was working at $25 for 1,500 words, here's another secret is that I had a job where someone asked me to work for a 50% pay cut on web copy. And I was just like, okay, I didn't negotiate my pricing. I didn't understand the right amounts that I should be charging. I didn't understand hourly versus per project. Someone just was like, do you want some work? And I was like, yeah, I charge this. And they're like, will you do it for half? And I was like, sure. So I really made a lot of mistakes there. And I would just accept whatever pricing was there. Like, I was so afraid of money. I was so insecure about my skills. And I often felt like when I got on a client call that I was just like, I didn't understand what to say or what to do. I had a few questions in there. And this is something too, this is why I like made my cheat sheet, because when I got started, I just had some questions where, you know, I was like, okay, I'll just ask these few questions just like a job interview. No, freelance clients are not like that. They have totally different expectations. They have totally different things that they care about, that you need to ask about, and you have totally different things as a freelance business owner. So when I would get on the calls, I would ask these few questions and I put them in my cheat sheet. So if you go to mandyellis.com/cheat sheet, you can get all the questions that I ask on a client call, as well as those marketing pieces that I talked about as number 4, and the steps to onboard your clients the right way. So as I'm on these client calls, I also started developing kind of a spidey sense. So I would get on these calls, and at the beginning, I would get such bad cotton mouth. Like I had such bad dry mouth that I would drink so much water. I'd have to go to the bathroom like right after the call because I drank so much water. So I would get so nervous. But after a while, after doing more and more of these calls, I started developing this spidey sense. So for me, one of the secrets of doing great client calls isn't just asking the questions, it's knowing the answers that you want to get and developing the spidey sense for, is this client the right fit for me? Are we on the same page personality wise? Are they paying attention on the call? Are we kind of in the same ballpark in terms of pricing, in terms of what their budget is, or in terms of project scope, in terms of timeline, in terms of contracts? This spidey sense develops from listening to their answers. Do their answers sound right? Are they just giving you the guff? Are they giving you like all the fluff and they're giving you guff about not pricing on a call? Are they really kind of doing other things? Do they have Slack open? Are they paying attention to their phone? Are they just like doing this call just cause? So there's a spidey sense that develops where you can kind of start figuring out whether this is a red light client or a green light client for you. And this spidey sense is, you get on so many of these calls that you start realizing like, oh, if someone does this, that's a good thing for me. So for me, it's like we're just joking around. Like, we're not hopping on this call to talk about the weather. It's like we can joke around, we can talk naturally. They have goals for their content that are what I think are really important for that niche or for that type of content. There are things that those clients get on there and they're just like really enthusiastic and upbeat about solving the content problem. They're really like looking forward to completing that project. They just seem really genuinely interested in working together and working on a solution for the content or the content strategy. And I feel like for me, it took me a while to kind of figure out, like, is this person just, you know, like blowing smoke at my ass? Is this person a red light client? Is this person a green light client? And for me, I think that spidey sense is a real big secret, is really getting on enough calls to develop the spidey sense of like, oh, this call is going nowhere, even though they're talking a good game, or developing the spidey sense of like, wow, okay, they're like, they have these big goals. That doesn't really seem reasonable. Like, instead of following them on that train and being like, yeah, let's just do all these big goals. So developing kind of this feeling and this sense of like, are they on realistic tracks? Do we kind of believe the same things? Are we vibing together? Is this kind of feeling like my other successful projects that I worked on? And I think that goes in conjunction with pricing. Like, if I'm on a call with a client and they're just pushing me for price, that's not a good fit for me, because I don't like to price on calls because I usually mess it up. I've lost tens of thousands of dollars. That's another secret. I've lost tens of thousands of dollars, I know, from pricing on calls and getting off the call and realizing I undercut myself by a ton. So if someone's pushing for a price, that's not my client. I need time to think about the project. I want to hop off the call. I want to decompress. I want to think about what we talked about. Because I'm hearing about the project for the first time. So me losing thousands of dollars on calls, right? Pricing on calls, not a good thing. So once I stopped pricing on calls and I gave myself a breath to actually think about prices, like, what would I actually charge for this project? What is it worth long term? How does it work within their content strategy? Or what would I charge for the content strategy? What are the deliverables that make sense for them? That really helped me price better and not leave so much money on the table. And like I said, leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table really hurts. Like, the first few times that I did a project. I know I've left money on the table. But for me, I think the biggest, if you walk away with one thing from this video, the biggest thing is on pricing is pick a number you feel a little bit nervous about. It's not about picking the right number. It's not about like doing the magic, like doing the rain dance and all that stuff and trying to make the magic number come to you. It's really about you picking a number that makes you feel a little bit nervous. So when you're pricing, that number gets you closer to your actual value. Because I know 99% of writers that I talk to way undercharge. Not a little bit, not 5%. It's like 80% they undercharge. Like they should be charging like 80% more money or at least double the money. So pick a number that you feel nervous about. That's the number you should choose. The goal, obviously, is not to extend all of your clients' budget and be like, they have $5,000, the project's $5,000. The idea is to price when someone says like, well, they don't know about their budget and they're asking you to submit a budget. The idea isn't to fall into fear and then be like, well, they didn't tell me a number. What do I charge? The idea is you pick a number you feel a little bit nervous about and tell them that's the number and see what they say, and then you can negotiate. A good client will always negotiate with you. So pick a number you feel a little bit nervous about. All right, number two, you have to be organized and work in repeatable ways. So for a long time, I just kind of like went with the breeze. So I was just, my first magazine article that I ever wrote took me a month to do it. I was really struggling with how do you actually get this done? How do you find interviewees? How do you actually write the thing? And then how do you edit it and cut it down? So I think for me, if I had had more organized, repeatable structures for not only getting my work done, and this includes running my business, admin, marketing, financial stuff, I would have been way further off. I would have had this solid framework in place a long time ago, a long time before I did. So for you to have a framework that actually pays off for decades, you have to work in an organized way, in a repeatable way. And they don't have to be the same. You just have to be able to be a well-oiled machine. So for me, I tried all the stuff. I tried paper, I tried digital, I tried this thing, a tool, that tool. Once I kind of found Dubsado, D-U-B-S-A-D-O, Dubsado, that really helped me stay organized and work with workflows. It helped me automate things, and it helped me kind of get my marketing in shape so I could work in more repeatable ways. So when you're kind of moving along in this process, if you're someone who works well with paper, cool, but you have to be organized. And I've heard from writers who are like, I'm great with paper, and then I look like at their desks, like we have a coaching call or they're a Wealth Lab student, and they just have paper everywhere. It's not organized at all. So you have to be working in these organized and repeatable ways. So when I'm thinking about that, that means templates. That means working off of like things that you can copy, paste, and edit as you go along. That means understanding why that case study, this case study was better than another one, or this article you wrote was better than another one. It also means understanding that every new client you work for, you have an organized way of onboarding them. You have an organized way of doing that work. You have an organized way of getting your calendar together. And then you have like some kind of repeatable deadline schedule. So for example, every new client you get, they're on a 3-week schedule. So every new client, the first deadline available for them is 3 weeks. And for me, I often, when I started, I would just do like as quick as they wanted it. I was like, yeah, I'll drop everything. I'll do it right now. And I had a full-time job when I started. So it was a mess. But when you're kind of working on this fear and you're working on imposter syndrome and you really don't understand this framework, you're just like trying to throw all the ingredients in the soup and be like, good luck. So what I want you to do when you're putting this rock solid framework in place is that you're getting the work done in whatever way is organized for you, but it's something that is repeatable. So you have a way that you start your interviews. You have a template of questions you ask for interviews. You know how to find interviewees. You go through similar processes every time you are starting a case study. You organize your notes a certain way. You start your writing process a certain way. And for me, so one of the things that, like I said, I started out with my very first reported article being a month. It took me a month to do it. Now it'll take me 3 days. So if I have to do interviews, build in 2 weeks for that. But the actual writing process is 3 days. I need 1 day to collect my notes and research and organize it. I need 1 day to actually write and 1 day to edit. Now, it doesn't take the whole day, but I know that I need sleep in between those parts of the process. It really helps me just kind of get all my stuff together. Like I'm not a fast writer. It just speed was never my thing. So when you're kind of learning that, I think that's really important. So you have to know, like, hey, if I started a week or 2 weeks or a month, eventually I could get to 3 days, but I need to create organized, repeatable processes in order to do that. And I need to be working when the best time is for me. So when I started, one of the things I rarely ever share is I would only be able to write in the beginning of the day. If it got past like 1 o'clock, it was just gone. Like I was just so tired. I just couldn't do it. It didn't work. But as I pushed myself over the years, I can write at any time. I can write early in the morning. I can write at midnight or 3 a.m. Like if I have to, I will finish those deadlines whenever I need to. But when I started, I really struggled finishing things in the afternoon. So I realized I needed to just kind of work with that for a little while until I had a process, until I had a timeline where I was like, hey, I know I can do this at 2 o'clock now. I know I could do this at 5 o'clock now if I need to. So really kind of understand that. You need to understand when you do your best work and then kind of capitalize on that until you're able to expand your time frame and write at all hours of the day. So for me, I really struggled with that. I really struggled with that morning writing part, not being able to write after that, and just really kind of struggling with the organization and having my notes there to kind of guide me rather than the blank page. So really kind of work on that. Organize repeatable ways, really get your work done when it's best for you, and create those processes so that you have a framework that keeps paying off so that things get quicker and easier and you can make more money over time. Number one, this is the last one. So number one, and I think this is the one that gets ignored the most. Number one is mindset. This is something that I think is one of the biggest issues I see with Wealth Lab students who are coming in, and we always have a questionnaire. So when someone joins Freelance Writer Wealth Lab, I have them fill out a questionnaire that says, hey, what are you struggling with? What's going on in your business? Who are your clients? Send me your LinkedIn and website. Can I look at your stuff? I look at their writing samples. I look at what's going on in their business. I ask them about questions that they want me to answer, struggles that they want me to solve. And through those things, it's usually mindset. 50% of the form is mindset. I'm afraid that clients will laugh at me. I'm afraid that I can't go after these bigger clients. I'm not a very good writer. I think that I'm just an imposter. Like I'm playing freelance writer. I am confused about marketing, but scared to move forward to take action. I think that no one will answer my LOIs. What do I do if I hear crickets? What if I try all this stuff and it doesn't work? A lot of the times, mindset is the biggest thing I work on with my Wealth Lab students because it is the biggest hurdle to get over to take action. So the action piece is actually the deal to deal with the mindset issues. So when you're taking action, that helps with mindset more than the analysis paralysis. So for me, when I was kind of getting like the first 5 or so years, so the first half almost of my freelance writing career, I dealt with a lot of mindset stuff. I was really paralyzed by fear. I was really paralyzed in going after I was just gripped with fear to go after the clients I wanted to. I didn't, want to do too much marketing because I was scared that everybody would answer at once or that I wouldn't get anything and I would feel bad that all this effort I put in didn't work out. But really what ends up happening is you realize the more you really work on your processes and systems, the more you kind of put the blueprint in place, then everything works out. You may not have it on the timeline that you want, you may not have it tomorrow or in 3 months, but if you really put the right pieces in place, it will work out. And this was something that when I burned out, so something that I've talked about before is that back in 2018, I worked every day from April to September. Most of those days were 10 to 15 hour days, 12 to 15 hour days. And I had 2 days off and I had 1 week late in August before I just completely collapsed in September. So I worked every single day and I burned out crazy. And in that burnout process, I was going to quit freelance writing and I was just going to work at Dairy Queen. I don't know what happened. I was sitting on the floor and I was crying and I was like, I'm going to quit freelance writing and I'm just going to work at Dairy Queen. And in that moment, although I felt a lot of despair, the next few days I started realizing that really what was keeping me back was my mindset and not putting the right things in place. So not really understanding how to make a system that worked for me and how I naturally worked. And then also dealing with this isn't as scary. They're just people in a cubicle. That's what I started realizing. Well, all of these editors at big magazines, they're just people in a cubicle. And all these big clients that work at multi-million dollar companies or billion-dollar companies, they're just people in a cubicle. They're just regular ass people. And once I started getting over the mindset that I couldn't do it, or it wouldn't work out, or that I wasn't a good writer, or I would never be in the magazines that I wanted to be because I would never be able to create quality work at that level. Once I started chipping away at those things, I started realizing how much I've actually done. So when I started looking at the facts of, oh wait, I did send a bunch of pitches, and wait, I did send all those LOIs, and I did move forward. It was those action steps, those factual pieces in my business where I took action that really started eating away at my mindset stuff. And this is the number one thing, is like, if you work on your mindset, if you are constantly growing and you are chipping away, I don't care how small the chips are. I don't care if they're like the chips in the mint chocolate chip ice cream, or if they're like the big giant chips that you get at the grocery store, like the big, huge chunkin' chocolate chips. I don't care how much progress. It's just progress. You need to make progress. So a lot of times this mindset stuff is like, oh, I have to take big bites all the time. So the way that I talk about it is like, well, if you ate a big meal yesterday, you still need to eat today, right? It's not like you ate one big meal yesterday and you're like, good, I'm now good for a week. You're not a snake. You're not a reptile. So we still need to eat every day, which is more, that's where we're working on with these mindset issues, is we are chipping away at them. And the more that I can help my students, that I help my Wealth Lab students feel confident in their ability to take action in their writing skills and really help them see how wonderful they really are as writers, boom, they take off like rocket ships. And I think that was the piece for me that I just really missed. I didn't really feel this confidence, and I really kind of struggled with a lot of thoughts that like I would just never like make it, and I would never be able to work for these clients or make six figures or hit all these cool milestones like working for Condé Nast or Afar or any of the really cool startups that I've worked with that have been so fun, or write for all the restaurant publications that I have about food, which I love writing about. I really, let mindset take control of the ship for many, many years. And this has been, I know that this is why it's in module 1 when we work through the Wealth Lab, I have to set up the stage to help you kind of shift to getting to the right next level for you, to help you understand how awesome you really are and the skills that you bring to the table and the cool shit you can accomplish. So if I can show you what's possible, that breaks a lot of barriers. And then you're taking action, which starts crumbling all those little mindset blocks. So this framework for me, understanding how your clients find you, connecting on their level with those cold emails, right? Those LOIs and pitches if you send things to magazines, the templates, the revenue ranges, the right processes, then nailing, really getting those client calls, getting your spidey-sense developed, and understanding that you need to price at a number you feel nervous, getting your work done in an organized way that is repeatable, things that are all kind of well-oiled machine, and then working on mindset. That framework, if you kind of work on those 4 pieces, that will pay off for decades. That will build a business you adore. That will help you get to the next level. It will help you set a schedule, income, clients, all the good stuff in your business that you want to reach. These are the things that I've kind of scrunched down in my business as the most important stuff that I pay attention to. And honestly, I pay a lot of attention to mindset because it's the driver, right? It's the brain that's driving the bus. And I have all these thoughts and I have to kind of get over those, right? We have to kind of work through those so that we can get to the place we want to be. So I hope that those kind of secrets that I've shared and those 4 things are important. And we have a question. So I want to make sure I answer this question. So this one, you can always submit an anonymous question. So if you go to mandyellis.com/question, you can submit it anonymously. This one's anonymous. So it says, first, thank you, Mandy, for your deliberately questionable weekly email. So I have a weekly email I sent out. That one was called Deliberately Questionable. I'll try to keep myself from acting. Okay, I really have not developed my cold emailing muscles. I'm a bit of a lightweight. I created free accounts on Contact Out and Hunter.io. In my first search, I tried on both platforms. They came up with nothing. The second search for another one, I tried on Contact Out, and they got the name and title and company right. The emails shown on the side were just Hotmail and Comcast that you had to click on to get. Personally, I haven't checked my Hotmail account in years. And they probably haven't either. They have no business accounts, even though I typed in the company name. I checked another marketing person on Hunter.io, and they had less than 85% assurance that this domain accepts all emails, right or wrong. I sent another marketing director an email by putting variations of the email in the BCC line all at once and then sending it. The good news is that she replied and introduced me to the content manager who works under her and hires writers. I use these 4 variations. Is using BCC risky for getting flagged or putting my email in jeopardy? I have no idea what the threshold is, and am I endangering my own email account? LinkedIn is a safe way to send, but not helpful if the person hasn't been active in weeks or months. Am I overthinking this? Okay, so let's go through these few things. I love Hunter.io. It's what I teach my students. I teach them other tools too, but Hunter.io is great. What you're looking for here is just to find the email convention. You're not actually looking for the real email. Every once in a while, Hunter will give you the real email, but mostly you're looking for the convention of like first name dot last name at company.com. And I know you're talking about different variations in here. So Hunter.io, we don't care about the assurance rate. We care about finding a convention and trying that. And if it doesn't work, we'll try another convention. But Hunter.io is usually really good. So my guess is that you're going after companies that are way too small, and that's why Hunter.io is having trouble finding emails. So this is kind of an issue I've seen before where people are like, yeah, I'm using Hunter.io, but like it's not showing any companies. It's because they're using small businesses, and small businesses usually aren't our clients. So they're kind of going after the wrong people. So my guess is that you're going after clients who are way too small. So all you need for Hunter.io is the website link, and it'll pull up the email convention. So I wouldn't use Contact Out. I would use Hunter.io. The other one is Apollo.io. So I would try Hunter.io, continue using that, and Apollo.io. And I would send 1 email at a time. You do not want to BCC like 5 emails like you have here. You said you had 4 variations. That will get you flagged. That will look like spam. And we don't want to do that. You want to send 1 email address to one email to 1 email address. And if it bounces, like it says it was, that email doesn't work, or it says you were automatically blocked or something, that basically just means the email's not valid and you go find another one. So the deal here is that you don't want to BCC. It looks really bad. And if you keep doing that, it will make your emails look like spam because you're trying to put all these emails in there because you're like, well, I'm not going to send multiple emails. I'll just put them all in there. And I know you're putting them in as BCC, but it'll show Gmail or whatever email server you're using that like you're, sending a lot of these, and we're usually sending 50 to 75 LOIs a month. And I think if you're sending that many, if you're sending even more, 100 a month, that's not going to look good. So yeah, BCC is risky. It has been flagged before. That's something that I've seen before where, people have tried to use, they're just like, I'll just put in all the conventions into every email. You want to do 1 email to 1 email address, and you want to just get the convention. So if you're using Apollo.io or you're using Hunter.io and you're using a business, like not a small business, but an actual business, the convention should show up. If it doesn't in Hunter.io or Apollo.io, you could go back and send them through LinkedIn. I like to send them on LinkedIn through InMails because that's where my clients are active. And your next part of your question where you're talking about the person hasn't been active in weeks or months, I usually give them like 6 to 8 months. As long as someone has been active in the last 6 to 8 months, I will still send them the LOI on LinkedIn. 90 days would be more ideal. So if someone's been active on LinkedIn on their activity bar, when you visit their profile, that they've been active in the last 90 days, great. That's more ideal, but at least 6 to 8 months. Like if they haven't been, most people on LinkedIn are not active every day or every week. LinkedIn isn't like Instagram or Facebook. It's way different. So most people are not active every day or every week. CEOs can be active every week, but usually content marketing managers are like, theirs is in months. Like they're active in kind of a month span. So 90 days, as long as they're active in the last 90 days, that's like my ideal. But 6 to 8 months, as long as they've been active on there, I send my LOIs via InMail. You can get a LinkedIn premium plan. That's what I have. I have a very old LinkedIn premium plan, but I usually recommend Sales Navigator if you can afford that, because then you can use it to create your list, cut by revenue, find all the people, get their emails. Like Sales Navigator is really good. And it's something that I teach my students in the Wealth Lab too. So yes, I feel like this is kind of a natural thing that happens. You asked if you're overthinking. but this is an important process. So it's normal that you would be overthinking it. I've overthought this process many times, but you're going to use hunter.io or apollo.io. Use some kind of business address. You can't use a Gmail address for apollo.io, but if you use something like mandy@mandyellis.com, that will work, and it'll give you like tens of thousands of chances to find emails. Pick one convention, like whatever conventions show up on hunter.io. Pick the most common one, because sometimes it'll show you 3 or 4 conventions. Like it'll show like first name dot last name at company.com, or it'll show, first initial dot last name at company. Pick whichever version is most common amongst the emails to start with, and go from there. And we don't care about the assurance, like I said. We care about trying a convention that is seemingly most common amongst what we're seeing from hunter.io or Apollo. And like I said, as long as someone is usually active within the last 6 to 8 months, but more ideally 90 days, the last 3 months on LinkedIn, then I could, you would send it on LinkedIn through an in-mail. I like Sales Navigator. It's like $100 a month, but it's worth it because you can do all of your email, like all of your LOIs, all your marketing stuff within LinkedIn with it. So I hope that helps. And yeah, okay. So if you haven't grabbed my cheat sheet will help you with this stuff too. So I have all these things in my cheat sheet, including questions to ask on client calls, how to actually do your marketing, like all of the things you need to check off to get your marketing done, how to onboard your clients, and then how to kind of work with certain business processes so you can speed everything up, make more money in less time. If you go to mandyellis.com/cheat sheet, you can grab it. And last thing here, I have upcoming masterclasses. So twice a year, I run my free live masterclass. I have a brand new free live masterclass this time. It is coming up. You will be able to sign up for it. I just want to plant the seed there. It will be how to hit 10K months as a freelance writer without working 40-hour weeks in 4 vital strategies. So that masterclass, if you get my cheat sheet, you'll be the first one to hear about when that masterclass opens up, where you can sign up. It's totally free. It's live. I'll be on there answering questions, talking to people in the chat, teaching you all the steps you need to know. So that upcoming masterclass will be coming up for the next week. So I can't wait to share that with you, and I'm really excited about it. If you grab the cheat sheet, you'll be the first to know. And I hope this video has been helpful in terms of secrets I've shared and steps that are most important, and how to kind of really build a foundation in your freelance writing business to scale, things that actually help your business versus running around with your chicken, like a chicken with your head cut off, doing 1,000 things at once. This is organized, well-oiled machine freelance writing. So I hope this has been helpful, and I will see you next time.